everybody's saying it's going to be all right, we just kind of say it, I think, because we're not quite sure what else to say. And we don't want to say, it's the end, it's all over. So we say, it's going to be all right. I understand that the Australians say, no worries, mate. No worries, mate. No worries, mate. That's their way of saying the same thing. I have a question for you. If you were to face your own death right now, can you look at that and know that everything's going to be all right? If the sky were to open and Jesus was coming, do you have an assurance that there's no worries, mate? Which side of the resurrection you're coming up on? We as a church, Seventh-day Adventists, with our strong focus on obedience, and I'm not saying that as a negative thing at all, but with our strong focus on obedience, we have been fairly weak on the idea of knowing our assurance of eternal life. Because we seem to be afraid that if we know we're ready, then we'll stop being as serious about stopping sinning. But if we kind of are forced to be constantly sitting on the edge of our seats in terms of stopping sinning, that will keep us in terms of our assurance of eternal life, that will keep us serious about obedience. Doctrinal structure in a church membership, it comes packaged in a person. He who has the Son has life. And interestingly enough, in the Greek, the definite article is in front of the word life. Literally, he who has the Son has the life, meaning the eternal life. He who does not have the Son of God does not have the life. Very simple equation. You got Jesus, you're in. You don't, you're out. Then he says, these things I've written to you who believe, it's an ongoing tense, who are trusting in the name of the Son of God, that you may know that you have eternal life. I believe the Bible is absolutely clear that we can live with the assurance of we know which side of the resurrection we're going to come up on. We can know if we're ready for Jesus to come. And I believe it's the lack of that assurance that has driven us to some of the links of legalism that we found ourselves in as a church. I think we've made some progress in this in the last 40 to 50 years. There's been a lot more emphasis on assurance, but it seems that we have a dickens of a time being able to actually look at the future and know that everything's going to be all right. I want to talk about that today. My cousin Lee taught a one-quarter Bible class to seniors for 9 years back in the 1980s. So he had every senior in that school for 9 years, which was several hundred. It's back when the school had 400 or so students. And he would always start each class with a quiz. It wasn't graded. No grade, no name, just give honest answers. And he would ask them these questions. Number one, if someone asked you to define what is a Christian, what would you say? Number two, if someone asked you, what do I have to do in order to go to heaven? What would you answer? Number three, would you like children of your own one day to have a spiritual experience similar to your present one? Yes or no? Explain your answer. Number four, if you were killed in a car accident later today, would you be resurrected with the righteous? Yes or no? Explain your answer. And number five, do you have any sort of daily time alone with God for the purpose of becoming better acquainted with Him? Yes or no? At the end of 9 years, he decided when he was heading for a new assignment, to get out his files and look over the answers he'd gotten from hundreds of these. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, there are 5 people in North America who've chosen not to be with our church, with everyone who is. A lot of people seem to have checked out on Adventism. And a lot of them say it's because they didn't have any hope.